I am personally finding it just not okay that we are heading into July 2022. Confusion aside, July is going to be a really exciting month for me for one particular reason that I'll get into in one of the spreads. There's sunny days to look forward to. Toronto as a city is feeling so alive these days. It's addicting, thrilling energy to be a part of. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring July's Plan With Me. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform I use for my own site. More details on them in a little bit. And if you haven't already, there's also a link in the description box below that you can click to join my Monday morning newsletter that I send out every Monday morning. If you want your week to start off on a positive note, I highly recommend joining that list. And on that note, let the planning begin. Of all the month at a glance spreads I've created over the years, the 2-page layout has consistently proved to be the most functional. Some months I don't need a lot of planning space in this area, but with summer season comes along more socializing and an amp up in work deadlines, so I wanted to have the real estate necessary for keeping track of it all. To create this calendar layout, I'm using the fine point tip of my black Tombow dual brush marker. I've really been gravitating to using this marker for outlining lately because it makes everything pop out so nicely because it's so much bolder than my go-to black pens. I made 4 columns on the left page and 4 columns on the right, equating to 8 columns for me to create a calendar and a to-do list on the far right. Going into July's Plan With Me, I knew I wanted the spreads to be pretty simple, but also have a fun flair for summer. So throughout this video, you'll see me weaving in pops of color in the form of peachy oranges, yellow, and blush pink. You may also notice that I'm using a white pen to fill in the numbers for the days of the month in July. If you watched my new stationery haul that I posted last week, then you know that this pen is actually still a Sharpie S-Gel pen, just in a white casing. I love the Sharpie S-Gel pen. It's been one of my favorite block pens for years because of how quickly it dries, so I was excited to discover that it came in a variety of casings to make it more fun to use than just a basic black ballpoint. The metal version of this pen also feels very fancy. I'll have links down below to them, as well as links to everything you see me use in today's video. The top header of the calendar was clearly missing something, so I brought out these same colors I used in the titles for the days of the week to make some fun swirls. I think at this point you guys know how much I love design elements that are easy to replicate, and this one is definitely one of those. Simple, but it adds a lot of personality to the page. I also think alternating the colors for each swirl was more spicy visually than if I had just decided to make each collection of swirls one color. Okay, but what is a Caitlin's Corner Plan With Me if there isn't a habit tracker involved? Definitely not a plan with me I want to be a part of. I had planned to do some classic grids for my habit trackers this month, so when I was thinking about ways to make the layout more interesting, I opted to write the title of the page in a funky font at the top with letters being written in varying heights and placements. I'm unsure if it really gave what I was hoping it to give, but it was worth an attempt. I'll accept it. Again, because I knew the habit trackers themselves wouldn't be anything crazy, I brought back the swirls and filled the page with them as much as I could to fill in the white space I predicted I'd be left with. This is the last spread that I used the swirl design in, and even though it has a similar style to the calendar spread, I think it works nicely to have the 2 pages feel cohesive as one unit because they end up being the pages I look at the most throughout the month. To create my habit trackers for hydration, movement, and meditation, I used once again the fine tip point on my black Tombow marker. Unlike with the title where I wanted the lines to be super clean, so I used a ruler, for the grids, I freehanded them because I didn't want them to look picture perfect. The habit that I'm looking forward to really getting better at this month is meditation. I feel so off track with my meditation routine, which is disappointing because I know how powerful the practice has been for me in the past, so I'd like to make it a priority this summer. The bottom right page, I added a quote from James Clear, the habit master himself, that says, "Habits are not a finish line to be crossed, they are a lifestyle to be lived." I think my only regret looking back on this page though, from a design standpoint, is not making the quote take up slightly less of the page because the right page feels a little off balance to me visually. Also, I need to mention how much I'm loving my new desktop vacuum for getting rid of eraser shreddings. I hate wiping away eraser guts onto the floor, so I much prefer to be able to gently suck them up by a vacuum. It's also linked below. When I'm not here on YouTube posting videos, you can typically find me sharing content on other corners of the web, and one of my favorite places to share content is on my blog. CaitlinDeSilva.com is where I share posts about self-care tips, book recommendations, and photos of each month's Plan With Me spreads. And that's all thanks to Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes starting, designing, and updating a blog of your own easier than ever. Squarespace has a vast array of beautiful templates to choose from so your website can look clean, professional, and reflective of your personality and or brand without the help of a graphic designer. You can personalize the look of your site even further by making changes to each template's fonts for headings, paragraphs, buttons, and more. I know what you're thinking. Wow, Caitlin, I need to start a blog of my own. Well, the good news is Squarespace has got you covered. And the best part, you can check out squarespace.com today for a free trial and use the URL squarespace.com/Caitlin'sCorner to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain when you're ready to launch. Something I've hinted at on the channel and socials is the fact that at the end of July, I will be venturing off on a trip, my first trip out of the country in years, so I could not be more excited. Any guesses onto where you think I'm going? I feel like I need to build up the reveal, so have the guesses in your head ready because yes, the country I am heading to in July is, drumroll, Portugal. I feel like none of you will be surprised by this. Although I've been to Portugal in the past, this is the first time I'm going with the intent of really slowing down. In the past trips to Portugal, I've felt very packed with touristy stuff, especially my last trip there in 2018. So this time I'm looking forward to hanging out with my grandparents, watching my grandma cook, reading on the patio, and spending time with the rest of my family. I think it's going to be a yummy for the soul kind of trip with some day trips thrown in during my visit. So it should be a perfect balance of fun and relaxing, which I think is the kind of vacation I need right now. So to prep for the trip, as you've been seeing me put this spread together, I wanted a spot to figure out what things I need to do before I leave and also what things I want to pack. I will probably end up doing a computerized final packing list, but this will be a good spot for a rough draft. I really adore how the travel doodles came out on this page, and using the colors from the previous spreads helps tie it in with the rest of the Plan With Me without tossing in more swirls. Although I guess you could say that airplane broken lined trail is a bit of a swirly element too. My inner planner feels a special kind of satisfaction from a vertical weekly layout, so that is what I opted for in July's Plan With Me. Vertical layouts tend to be favorable for me because I can essentially use each day's planning space to start the day with a rough list of must-dos. As a student, I also found vertical layouts to be helpful for making a distinct area at the top of my columns for assignment due dates or events so that they'd stand out in comparison to the rest of the list below. Since the vertical layout doesn't add the most excitement for the eye, I whipped out my Tombos again, this time using the brush side of all of the same colors I've been using to make some colorful confetti on the page. To get this brushstroke look, I tried to keep my wrist really loose and light when making marks on the page. This is yet another easy design element to add into any page because there's no mistakes that could be made. Confetti isn't perfect, so there's no pressure to create the perfect look here either. To make the weekly title heading stand out, I used the black marker to add in the days of the week and filled in the white space on the bottom left page with a little note to self reminding me that sunshine is healing. Cheesy? Absolutely. True? Absolutely. Everyone always says how great it is to get outside when you're feeling down, and I couldn't agree more. There's rarely a time when just getting myself outside for a few minutes hasn't left me in a better spot. So I'm over here just keeping my fingers crossed for sunny days in July because June has been a bit of a chaotic weather sunny situation in Toronto. Some days sunny, some days rainy, some days cloudy. I can't keep up. In a very biased way, I am the most in love with the travel spread because it indicates that I have a fun trip that is coming up. I'm looking forward to getting ready for the trip and to actually going on it, obviously, and taking you all along with me throughout it. I will be vlogging the process of packing and going, and you'll see what I get up to. However, who cares about me? What's your favorite spread from this month's layouts? Let me know. A big thank you to Squarespace once again for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget, there is a link in the description box below that if you click it, you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. You know I just said that I have to start planning, but it's really hitting me in this moment that I have a lot to do before this trip. So keep your fingers crossed for me that I can do it without massive panics. And on that note, happy planning, everyone. Toodles. I've got some roasted chickpeas going on in that oven over there. I'm very, very excited to eat them. Oh, my sandals kind of look like a spider. They're just sandals. No big spider here. Thank goodness I'd burned the place down.
Yeah, I'm watching the rise, and I wouldn't say I'm shocked cause I'm hardly surprised. This one's for the ride, this one's for who knew I'd make it, just needed some time. This one's for my wife, could've left 1,000 times just so by my side. This one's for the grind, I knew it would happen, just had the strength in my mind.